Okay. And again, because I record on my own computer, just because it's too much of a hassle, the amount of space they give us for recording meetings on the cloud at Zoom is very little, and so we seem to run into problems with that every time. So I record to my local computer, and then I upload it to YouTube to share. But what that means here with my unstable connection, I don't know what happens here when I lose the connectivity with regards to the recording. So bear with me. I hope it turns out okay today. Okay. So I see we have a couple of other new folks joining us. So welcome, welcome. Let's see, we have four. We'll wait a few more minutes. Anybody want to just talk about anything in general while we're waiting?
Oh, you mean about movements forward with other organizations?
And not so much that here, but with regards to well, we can talk about our survey that we've got out there. As you know, our Rotary Club is different from most Rotary clubs in that our members are from around the world. So we see our community as being the world, the entire world. And like most Rotary clubs, we seek to be of the greatest service to our community. And in our case, we see that as helping our community avoid the worst consequences of major problems facing our community or facing the world. And we feel we have to address all of them because to focus on any one means our community could get clobbered by any of the others. So this, basically our club is saying, hey,
Completely agree.
all we got to do is solve all the problems of the world, and then that's what our club is aimed at. And
Okay.
one of the things that's very important in that is when we look to Rotary. I've attended all the Rotary conventions since Toronto, except for Melbourne. And one of the things I ask people there is they can constantly come up, and I say, okay, Rotary, hey, we do about 1 million projects per decade in Rotary, and I ask, okay, what major problems in the world can we point to that all of our actions of the past decades have brought us closer to resolving? And the problem is that, with the exception of polio, which represents a small fraction of maybe 1% of the world's problems, we can't find any. We look here at the SDGs, we look at World Bank statistics, and we see, and it's not only Rotary, it's basically all NGOs around the world, that we can't see where all the actions, and we're probably talking more than 1 million projects a year done around the world, that these are bringing us closer to resolution of the problems. So that next year we're not going to have a repeat of the consequences of this year with as many victims and so forth. And with regards to Rotary, basically we look at it that like all Rotary clubs, we seek to be of the greatest service to our community. And one of the ways we ask ourselves, how can a small club go out and say, okay, our goal is to help solve all the world's problems? And a big part of that is because Rotary, we're the largest association of business and civic leaders in the world. That should mean that we are the one of the largest collections of people with strategic skills and experience in the world.
Mhm.
And therefore, if we apply all of our strategic knowledge, we should be able to come up with some answers of how we can make a difference. Uh,
Okay.
when we look and think of Rotary as in its entirety, we have to sort of say, well, how much service can we be in the world? And it depends on three things. One is how many Rotarians we are, how many of us there are that are trying to make a difference. The second is the audacity of our projects. And the third is the degree of engagement of our members. So one of the things that
Mhm.
our club is looking to do is how do we help all the Rotary clubs around the world be more successful? How do we help
Yeah.
them be able to attract more members? And
Yeah.
so when we look at the projects we've defined that were in the survey that we sent out, we're looking, saying if we want to make a real difference in the world, we have to come up with solutions that are impacting the hundreds of millions of people, not tens of thousands or even millions, but the hundreds of millions.
Hmm.
Because to do
Hmm.
less is not making a meaningful difference in the world. It's making a meaningful difference to the people we help, but it's not
Okay.
making a meaningful difference in the world. So anyway, um, okay, 1 minute more. So another question I ask is what percentage of the time in most Rotary clubs is devoted to strategic discussion, to strategic thinking about the problems facing your community and what you can do about it? So when we hear about clubs that say, "Oh, we've got a clothing drive for the homeless," or we are doing tutoring in the school, I ask, "Okay, well, by how much have you reduced the number of homeless in your community over the last decade? Or by how much have you reduced the number of children in your schools that are not at grade level?" Because if you're not doing that, you're just putting bandages on symptoms. You're not dealing with
Yeah.
the problems. So we look to see how can we help that because our vision is the way to maximize our membership is if we get the press, the major mainstream press around the world saying Rotary is where it's happening. Rotary is where the difference is being made in the world. That will make our members so proud of their membership. And when people are proud of being part of something, they don't leave. So this is a part of the mission of our club is to figure out how do we help our clubs and Rotary in general do things that are going to make us the talk of the town, make us
Hmm.
be the heroes in our local communities, to make us be well, I think of things like um, the World Economic Forum in Davos. I always ask myself, why isn't that a Rotary event? If we're the biggest association of business and civic leaders in the world, it would make sense that that should be a Rotary event. But anyway,
Yes.
so I've managed to kill the time to the time to officially start this meeting. So let me begin. Ding. I'm Bill Graham. I'm the president of the Rotary Dare to Be Great Global eClub, and I declare this meeting of our eClub on 7 December 2024 to be open. Now, our original goal for this meeting was to discuss the results of our survey that we sent out as to what you thought of the world problems, the problems the world is facing, the urgency that each of the different kinds of problems have, and our philosophy that we've got to set our goals based on what's needed and not what we think we can do. Once we because to do less than what's needed isn't really solving the problems. So at any rate, that was the goal. But there's still so many of you, and it could be that everybody on this call has filled out the survey, but there's so many who have not yet filled out the survey who I would expect to do so. I felt we need to give them a little bit more time to complete the survey because the thing that makes the survey valuable to discuss is that we've got a lot of input, that we've got a lot of opinions from people. And so at the same time, in this last couple of weeks, there's been so much happening in AI. And those of you who have been attending our sessions here regularly know that we've been talking about, in particular, with regards to education, how education is changing as a result of artificial intelligence and likely to change in the very near future. And I wanted to bring up some real examples because we talked a couple of weeks ago. We've talked about, okay, how do we close the preparation gap on children before they ever get to school? Because we know one of the major problems in a lot of parts of the world is that a lot of children, by the time they get to formal education, they're already so far behind that they don't succeed or give up. Let me, Lady Hamilton, please um, go ahead and uh, I see
Yeah,
your hand.
just a quick comment. In the email I received for this invite for this meeting,
Yes.
the link to the survey is broken. I gave you a
Oh,
screenshot of what you get when you hit the link, so that might be why you're not getting your
ah,
response.
thank you so
Mhm.
much. Yeah, we have gotten quite a number of responses, but it could be that that something has happened to that. I will take a look after the meeting here and see if I can figure out what's going wrong with that and resend out the link to the survey in that case. Thank you so much for making me aware of that. Okay, as I mentioned here on education, we've talked about how AI is allowing us to change everything for closing that education gap, whether it's because parents at home they don't speak the language that's the language of the school system. We see from studies that children in lower socioeconomic backgrounds they're up to 2 years behind in verbal vocabulary skills when they start kindergarten or first grade, and that is then almost impossible to recoup that gap for the majority of those children. And we see how AI, we went to AI and asked AI, tell us how you can help us overcome that situation. And we actually have um, AI helped us by giving us a 50-page document on how we can close the education gap widespread, whether we're talking about children in Pakistan who's at home they speak a local dialect and don't speak Urdu, to children in the U.S. who have parents who may not have had an education, a higher education, or maybe they don't speak English at home. But the bottom line is that we see that we can close that gap, and we actually asked ChatGPT to develop prompts that would enable ChatGPT to engage with children and discuss with them, help them develop stories and do all kinds of things that would uh, give them pretty much the same advantages of children who go to expensive preschools. So that by the time they start kindergarten or first grade, they're basically at that same level. And it's amazing what it came up with in that regard. We also have talked about how we can close the education gap. We know that the majority, actually, of children in the United States by fourth grade are not up to grade level. And we saw here in New Jersey, where I'm located, that the gap in the top 10% of primary schools, that it's over 90% of the children are at grade level at grade 4, whereas in the bottom 10% of schools, the average is well below 10%. That is a tremendous gap. And we see there are schools, primary schools here that, according to the study of one district attorney, pointed out that 1 out of every 3 boys in certain schools that have certain performance levels, 1 out of 3 boys entering first grade can expect to spend a year in prison before they're 30 years old. So the idea here is, can we help local Rotary clubs close that gap? That would be sensational. That would put us on the news everywhere. People would be talking about, look at what Rotary came up with, look at what Rotary did, and which is part of our goal, because if Rotary is seen as being able to make a difference, more people are going to say, "Hey, I want to be part of that. I want to make a difference." And So, anyway, those two aspects of education that we spent a lot of time talking about. But in particular, this time, I had presented the idea a week or two ago that it would be possible with the latest AI technology for somebody to be able to complete a master's degree, which normally takes a year and a half to 2 years, in as little as 2 to 4 months. And that sounds like crazy. How can that be? So I wanted to be able to give examples of actual real tools that you can use today where you can see how that could be possible. So that is what the idea was for today's meeting, was to talk about real tools, real products that enable people to become expert and learn about topics incredibly quickly. And in particular here, I'm talking about perplexity spaces and Notebook LM as being the knowledge collection points, if you would, to build knowledge bases on any subjects and to facilitate the learning of the collective sum of all the knowledge related to a particular topic, but also looking at how other tools like ChatGPT and some other tools support building those knowledge bases and being able to use them. So that's the idea. But before we dig into that further, I'd like to hear from some of you. Do any of you have experience with using Notebook LM or Perplexity Spaces or anything similar? Please. No one?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. David, what do you use
Yeah.
and what has your experience been?
Well, I use it, beginning to use it in peer learning classes with students.
Mhm.
I've been using it for a while in just with myself for creative writing and for research into business plans. And the small team that I work with, let's say 4 or 5 people, we're all using it in slightly different ways, and we're trying to standardize that and share that knowledge. And yeah, so I basically we're planning educational programs at the moment, and we say it's going to be generative first, so it's got to be planned around AI.
Right. And is that Notebook LM or Perplexity primarily?
Neither of those yet. Notebook LM a little bit, but it's basically using either Claude or ChatGPT and programming it into Zoom and the other tools. So it's working at a slightly lower level to craft the experience, the
Oh,
educational experience, if you like.
okay. Okay. There's yeah, I didn't mention here that for the another tool that's very important in conjunction with these, once we have a knowledge base, a collection of all the wisdom and knowledge on a particular topic, and we've been able to analyze and synthesize and summarize all of that information down to the gist of what's really important about that. And we start to want to expand those summaries to be able to make it useful. That's where ChatGPT with Canvas, for example, or Claude with the um, what's the what is the thing, David? You if you're using that, what's the oh the word I'm thinking of here for the that you can use if you're coding or writing in Anthropic or Claude artifacts. That's what the word I was thinking. So using it with artifacts to be able to help with your writing. So that's important, but the biggest problem that most people have, it's not about generating stuff with AI so much as how do I use it to learn? How do I use it to understand things? How do I do the research? How do I find out what is important that I should know so that I can learn it? And so these tools like Spaces and Notebook LM are really very valuable on that because one of the things that I can do, I'm going to start with Notebook LM. Notebook LM is free. It's from Google. You can get to it just by typing notebooklm.google.com. And what it does is it gives you a repository where you can collect all your notes and thoughts about something. But more than that, you can collect all the knowledge out there that other people have. So you can actually drop into it articles, PDFs. You can drop into it links to YouTube videos. You can drop into it the any text that you can cut and paste. You can drop into it links to websites, and it will synthesize all the knowledge related to that and give you a summary. But it does more than that. Oh, and by the way, you can drop entire books, literally entire books. For example, I dropped the Salman Khan's The One World Schoolhouse. This is you're probably familiar, Khan Academy. I think it's being used currently by over 140 million people worldwide as the major learning tool out there to learn anything. They have over 10,000 tutorial items on there currently. So I dropped that in there, and I'm able to talk about all the ideas. I'm able to actually talk to the book because I can literally ask here, create for me a podcast. Talk to me about this book, and it will tell me the gist of the book. But I can also just ask it all kinds of questions. What was the author's, did the author say anything about this, or did the author say anything about that? What's their philosophy on this or that? And it will answer. I can say, oh, I heard that the author had this idea. Can you tell me what the author said in the book about that particular idea? And it will tell me. And then I can ask it, oh, interesting. Can you tell me what page and paragraph or what page and chapter that comment is in? And it will instantly tell me where it's at. I can also go and, with regards to the podcast, I can say, well, can you critique the book? You gave me a summary, you told me what's all great about it and everything, but critique it. Does it really get the message across well? How could the author have done it better? How could it have been improved? And it will do that. Now that's one book, but Sal Khan's got dozens of YouTube videos out there, interviews he's done and everything else. So hey, I just dumped the links to the YouTube videos in there. Now I'm able to talk, and he's also written some other books. So I've been able to go and talk to them about the collective sum of all that knowledge. He also has a website, Khan Academy. Hey, okay, dump that in there. So now I can ask all kinds of questions about how Khan Academy works, what's in Khan Academy regarding this or regarding that, and it will tell me. I can ask it to say, well, can you give me a 20-minute discussion among people that are just talking to one another about this website, Khan Academy website? And I know I can also ask it to critique that. So it's the ability to talk to this corpus of knowledge about anything. I just picked that as a subject, but I could talk to it about anything. I could talk to it about how do I fix leaky faucets and say, oh, I found out 5 YouTube videos out there about fixing leaking faucets. And I can now ask it all kinds of questions of what to pay attention to and so forth to fix a leaky faucet. I should go and do that right now about how do I fix my internet connectivity. But the bottom line is here that you can build this collection of all the knowledge of all kinds of sources to any subject, and then it has something that is really unique. And I'm going to see here if I can share my screen here just a second. Okay, so. Can everybody see my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay. So these are some here that I've been testing. So we see here the One World Schoolhouse is one of the notes. We see I only have in here one thing, and that's the book he wrote. It's the only thing that I've got in here. But and I had a discussion here because one of the things he mentioned that is eliminating the school calendar, even down to the point of saying, hey, instead of having fixed vacation times, once students are learning basically at their own pace and mastery based, that they have to master each piece of knowledge before going on to the next. Once you get to that point, that there's no reason to have everybody have to take vacation at the same time. So if a family has a reason to want to take a vacation at a different time than the normal school vacations, why not? Because a student is working at their own pace. They just pick up where they left off when they come back. So people can put in for vacation just like you do in your workplace in many cases. So anyway, this is what this looks like, and here I can add sources. And the interesting thing you can see here, I can add all kinds of PDFs, text, markdowns, audio, etc. I can take from the Google Drive. I can add my Google Docs, Google Slides, websites, YouTube's. I can just paste text in there. And I can have up to 50 documents. And those 50 documents can each be the length of a full book. So it's mind-boggling what we're able to drop in there. Then down here, let me just move that to the top. So here there's this thing called Net Notebook Guide. And what's interesting about this is, and I'm just going to click so it's loading this while we're talking. Okay, so over here I can create, first of all, it creates a summary, but second, I can create a study guide, table of contents, briefing documents, frequently asked questions, all kinds of tools that will help me learn. They suggest some questions I might want to ask. How does Khan Academy model challenge traditional schooling? How can technology transform the economics and accessibility of education? And so forth. It goes into all kinds of details on that. And then you've got this thing here that I just dumped this book in there, and I clicked on this button that says, "Hey, create an audio overview."
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving into a topic that's
Were you able to hear that? Okay.
pretty important to everyone.
Yeah.
Education.
Yeah, it's always a hot topic.
Always a hot topic.
Right.
But we're not just talking about,
Okay.
yeah, it really is a powerful example.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another concept that caught my eye
Okay.
was the flipped classroom.
Yeah, that's a popular one.
Yeah, so basically you do the lectures at home,
Mm-hmm.
and then you use
Okay, so to create that summary podcast of this entire book, I don't think I spent 2 minutes on the whole time to get the book there, to load the book in and have it generate. Well, it from my time, it took about 2 minutes. It took about an additional 2 to 3 minutes for it to generate that audio that you're hearing. But it really walks you through. Now, I could, when you come through, let me see if I can find an example here that I have not created a podcast to. Oh, by the way, this is I can afford to. Well, I got to load it first. But this was actually a summary of one of our meetings that we had. So it analyzed our meeting, and I could ask it to critique and say, okay, what was my performance like in the meeting? Did I talk too much like usual? and it will advise me to that. I can ask it, how can I make our meetings more effective? And it will advise me on that. It's pretty amazing of what it can do. Now I'm going to sacrifice what I had here just to be able to show you something. So I just deleted that podcast for our eClub meeting because I can regenerate anytime. But here I can customize that audio overview. So I can tell it that make an audio, but focus on these points. And don't bother with those points because everybody else is already saying that. So everybody knows that already. So I can cause it to focus on very particular things that I'm interested in. And through the ability to chat with the collective knowledge that I have out there, I'm able to go and say, well, let's say here that I picked as my topic for my notebook, quantum physics. And so I said, okay, I've collected all the research papers and the textbooks and the YouTube tutorials on quantum physics. I've got 50 of them all in there, and it's summarized everything. And now I can start talking with that combined corpus of knowledge related to that out there, and I can tell it, you know what, quantum physics is such a big field. Can you break that down into individual learning units where each learning unit covers one concept that I have to understand, and then sequence these dependent on dependency so that I master all the prerequisite content and knowledge and concepts before I go on to the next one. And it will do that. And it will break it down. And then I can literally go in and create these audio podcasts. So if I want to go out and do a jog and say I want to learn at the same time, so I can take that any book and have summarized the book, take any YouTubes, take 10 YouTubes out there, summarize all those YouTubes, package all the information together, and I'll listen to it while I'm out there jogging. I can also come in and just create notes for myself. So let me see here how I want to get back to, well, I'll just have it do. Let's do it with the briefing doc. Okay. So we see here, oh, I already did a briefing doc here. I created these. These are notes. So I can stop and say, you know, my understanding of this is as follows. And I write out all my understanding in a note to myself. And it will generate here. So I put my note in there. And now I can say, well, combine my note of where I talk about the things that are important to me together with that collective sum of all the knowledge that we've collected out there, and now give me a summary that's based on my understanding of that, and it will do it. So if you take a look here, this was our meeting. We were addressing on this particular meeting. It was achieving 100% K-12 student mastery. So our themes were now this is the note that it created from our meeting. It listened to our Zoom recording and it generated this out of that. It said, we talked about addressing education gaps, about mastery-based learning, the importance of lifelong learning, the role of technology. And then it goes into important ideas and facts, the stark disparities, the false assumptions, the impact of poverty, limitations of traditional models, shifting teachers' roles. It came up with action items, additional notes. That's pretty amazing here for something that took seconds. It didn't even take minutes. So before I go further, I want your thoughts on what you just saw. Did you already know all that, or am I telling you something new? What are your thoughts, please? Come on, guys. Help
Bill,
me.
I have a quick
Yes.
question for you. When it does the audio podcast summary, Whose voice is that? Is that the computer's voice? Did you train it with your voice ahead of time, or how does that
No,
work?
for right now, because this is fairly new, Google assigns they've made two voices, so you can only create it with those two voices currently. There's a related product from Google called Illustrate that's even newer, where I understand you do have the capability of assigning voices, but they're all computer generated voices. Which, by the way, right now it's just an
Yes,
audio podcast.
I was. Hello, this is Marshall. Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Like
Hold on.
Bill, I've shared the other day with you when I've created the podcast with Doodle. Yes, hello. Can you hear
Yes.
me?
Yes. We
Yes.
can hear you.
And for Notebook LM, and then I just put the article in that, and it has created an amazing podcast. That was my experience.
Mhm. Yeah. And now there's a little trick. You can take that podcast that you created, you can download it,
Hmm.
and you can turn around and upload it into
I
a
have
notebook.
downloaded. Yes.
Yes. But now turn around and you can upload that into
Okay.
another notebook. And now you can have a discussion with
Right.
the podcast that was generated. And by the way, one
Yes,
of the
sir.
things that somebody told me that they're using it to be able to talk to YouTubes. In other words, you take a YouTube, you load it into Notebook LM, and now through the chat mode, you can talk. You can say, "Well, at some point in your video, I remember you talked about something related to this. Can you please remind me what you said? And can you tell me when, at what minute in the video did you say that?" And it will give you the answer. It will tell you exactly what it said related to whatever you were looking for, and tell you exactly where it is in the YouTube. It doesn't yet give you the capability of saying, "Oh, can you replay the video just from that point only?" That's not there yet, but I expect that'll be coming shortly. So, other comments to this? Comments about, does it sound useful? Can you picture yourself using it?
Yeah, sorry, sorry, you kind of had your hand up first,
Yes,
Daniel. Do you want to say
Daniel.
something?
Daniel, go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. Are you
Okay,
right?
Ian.
Yeah, at the moment, I'm trying to find out about functional drinks because it's part of the thing I put together on the future of food. So what I'm doing is asking it a question. It doesn't give me the answer to start off with, and then I pull in another source, drop it in, and ask the question again, and it's getting closer to the answer for me.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
rather than look through huge long documents myself, I can just drop in a document that I find, and it gets closer and closer to the answer each time.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just like anything to do with AI. It's all about the quality of the prompts. So,
Hmm.
you get to learn to say, "Hey, is there anything in this document that talks about this? Where is it? Can you show me the paragraph that says that?" And you can do things like that. It will do that. Daniel, you wanted to add something.
It was just a direct answer to your question. So yeah, it's interesting. I heard about it, but I never tried
Mhm.
to use it so far.
Yeah.
But after your presentation, I think in the first half of next week, I will try it.
Yeah.
It seems highly, yeah.
Yeah, the key thing here is try it with something simple. Take a website or take a YouTube or take a book. If you're going to use a book, you have to use a tool to be able to download the ebook into a PDF, and then you load the PDF in. But I'm going to put together a collection of some tutorials and of how to do things like that.
That would
So
that would be great.
yeah.
I thought of trying to upload the Rotary Code of Policies, you know,
Oh yeah,
the
that
Rotary Policy.
That should be very simple. I've been looking at the
Very
idea.
simple and useful for you Rotarians. I mean,
Yeah, I was
yeah.
looking to take here John Hugo's some of his speeches, which there are YouTubes
Mm.
out there, and just
Also
putting
interesting. Yeah.
those in because I talked to John Hugo at a zone conference 7 years ago, where he talked about increasing Rotary membership to 3 million members, 2 to 3 million members. And I recall going up with him and saying, I was probably the only person in the room who believed we can do this, because
Mm.
we actually have a plan of how we can grow membership to that types of levels that ended up getting put on hold due to COVID, because we were talking at the UN of how we could work with the UN together to do something that would cause the whole media worldwide to just be talking about Rotary, and that would cause a lot of people to be very proud to be Rotarians. But yeah, so what I recommend with this is take something very simple. Take a website, take a YouTube video, and just load that in as a source, and then ask it to do a podcast. That's all. Just those couple of things. Or you can also ask it to, hey, build a study guide or whatever. Now, as Ian pointed out, that we quickly begin to realize that sometimes a single source tends to show only one perspective to things. So there's a lot of value for loading in multiple sources, and but there is a factor that I've heard people talking about. If you really fill up all 50 sources, and let's say they're all book length or these huge things, that the quality of the answers starts to go down. I don't know on that. But when you go and put in a link to a website, for example, and you ask for a podcast, just click on generate podcast. Don't give it any instructions. Just say do that. And then listen to see what it says. And that could be amazing. But then go back, delete that podcast, or download it first and save it, but then delete it, and then put in a custom instruction and say, please critique this website and give me suggestions on how it could be more effective. And then you'll get a whole discussion. These two people will discuss what are the strengths and weaknesses of that website and its communication and how it could be made more effective. So those are just two very simple things, and then you'll start to learn to fill it up. But you run into one thing here relatively quickly, and then that is, where do I find the best sources? If I want to study quantum physics, where am I going to find those sources? How do I know what sources to put in? There's a gazillion YouTube videos discussing it. Let's say I was discussing AI, and I wanted to put in about generative AI, and there's 5,000 videos out there on AI. How am I going to find the 50 here that would be most useful to put into my knowledge base? So this is where Perplexity comes in, and Perplexity Spaces. You can go in similar to what you do in Notebook. You can go into Perplexity. Perplexity is a free search engine. Well, there's a version that's free and a version that's pro. We'll start off with the free version. And you can go in. Let me share my screen again. That's that. That's. Okay. So right now, I've just switched and I'm in Perplexity. And Perplexity here is a search engine, basically, but a search engine with a twist. So I can ask it any kind of questions and ask it to go out and search for things. And they give you examples of table of car brands based on the cost to maintain them, any upcoming tech conferences, recent research on cold plunge therapy, ski resorts with the most snow this season. You can ask it for all kinds of things. You can also this shows you things that you've asked about in the past, and it'll research things for you. but you can create spaces here. And spaces are very similar to a notebook LM. So I had a question somebody asked me yesterday about video production tools. And so I came up here and I asked it to, let's see. Okay, so I asked it to do a search. Now, in this case, I have the pro version, so I asked it to do a search, but I could have done the same thing without the pro. And this particular case, the person was asking me about tools that are available for video creation and storyboarding. So it came up and said, hey, these are some of the products for video producers that create scene recommendations and scripts for the various scenes for a video. It literally will take a subject that you describe, and similar to, when you watch a TV show or a movie, there's scenes. There's like a couple of seconds, it's showing this person's face, and then it's showing another scene, and then it's showing another scene, and there's people talking all through this in the background. This will take a whole story that you described. You can describe it in just a couple of sentences, or you can describe it in a couple of pages, and it will break it down into realistic scenes for a movie or a video relative to doing this, and give you the scripts that would make this a cohesive story. And it will help you go all the way through to being able to generate what this is like. So this came up and it found for me all kinds of videos that I can look, and it says watch. So these different videos that it found that describe here how to use, in this case, LTX Studio. It came up with that. It gave me an answer here. It said, these are the AI tools for video creation storyboarding. It went into LTX Studio. It went into Adobe Firefly. And by the way, it has here links so to articles, and where did it get its knowledge from? Where did it get its source from? So, and then Adobe Firefly, Studio Binder, and so forth. Now, our goal, and then in recommended YouTube videos on studio demonstrations and so forth. So it went through all these details here, and there's a whole bunch of other images and stuff that I can look at, and other videos that I can look at relative to topics out there. So it will bring for me all the sites. I can go out there and say, I want to see all the best YouTube videos. I want to see all the best articles. I want to see the best books, whatever I asked for, and it will find these for me. And I can play around with them to quite a degree here in Spaces. But then I can turn around and I can load those. Those are the ones that I'll load into over here into my notebook, so that when we come up here and I say, okay, here I'm going to put all these other sources in, websites, YouTube's, copy text, PDFs, which can be, as I said, entire books. So I can do that. So using these two tools in conjunction with one another is great. Now, one of the things here that I can do with Spaces as well, and let me see where I get to that. Okay. Okay, I don't see how, maybe it's hidden behind here. Let me look here at my Spaces again. Okay, so here is on the video production tools. I just went into this at the top level where I've described what it is that I'm doing. And over here, I can set my settings. I give it a name, I give it a description. And this AI prompt field here, this is for custom instructions. Now, on the custom instructions, one of the things I can do is I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask ChatGPT, write me custom instructions for Perplexity that is going to help me accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish. And it is mind-boggling what it's able to come up with there. Let me see if I can. Okay. So, for example, here, this is one where I said, hey, find for me all the knowledge of all the things I can do with Perplexity and how to use it. And down here at the bottom, you see these custom instructions. If you look, what's my goal? Step 1, define the scope. Step 2, resource collection. Collect all the exercises from video tutorials. It says official documentation, video tutorials, expert articles and blogs, communities, third-party comparisons, practical exercises. Step 3, organized by learning pathways. Beginner resources, intermediate and advanced resources here for learning that. Step 4, emphasize practicality. And then 5, give me use examples and case studies and so forth. So it'll go through, curate a list of reliable websites. So this is instructions that ChatGPT told me, hey, this would be good custom instructions. And what this does is it causes all the questions that I want to ask relative to that, whatever my space topic is. I only have to put in a couple of questions. So I said, oh, it doesn't offer a direct print or export to PDF feature for pages. But so I had this short question, and well, so it came and gave me all this information here on how I can figure out how to do all of this with tags, categories, so much that that you can do, and I can load this in now. I wasn't going to jump into this right now, but I might as well since I'm here. It says turning searches into shareable pages. One thing here that both these tools do is it enables you to collaborate. It enables you to say, oh, I want to do research into quantum physics or into how to have AI generate entire websites for me from a few sentences of text or make a video for me or whatever. And I can say, oh, you know what, hey, some of you are interested in the same thing. With Perplexity, I can collect up to 10 people that together we'll gather our notes and our ideas together, and we'll do this research jointly. Now, finally here, there's this thing here, convert to page. So I went out and I said, oh, I want to find all this information regarding Perplexity, how to learn how to take advantage and leverage all the things. If I say convert to page, well, this was because my last topic, the topic it was focused on was how to print it. Look what it did. It created for me it collected all the knowledge related to what I asked for, and it's creating a document for me. And it tells me here, oh, here's the sources that were for this part of how to access the print or print, adjust the print settings, etc. And I can say, you know what, this is great, but it's a little bit boring because you know, it's just a bunch of text. I can go in here and say, oh, you know what, add some images, and I can pick from a whole bunch of different images and say, oh, put this image into my article. The other thing I can do is I'm coming down here and I'm saying, oh, this is great, and I can move my article up and down and so forth. I can edit, and initially it gives me concise information. I can say, no, I want to see a detailed version of this. And so it's taking this now and it's giving me a more detailed explanation of this aspect of whatever it is I'm talking about. So let me stop the share for a minute here and go back. So what are your thoughts here now on perplexity spaces? Can you see how you can achieve a lot of similarities with perplexity spaces as you could with Notebook LM, whereby I do find the Notebook LM is a little bit better in summarizing in many ways. And I have more flexibility, and you can create entire new documents of your own in both. And one of the things when you're in Perplexity there, you can upload your own files or go out there and find files that you want to sort of guide the search process. So it will limit its search process to what you're talking about. And there's a thing called focus. So you can say, I want you to focus only on academic papers. I want you to focus only on different fields when you're looking at that. Let me see if I've forgotten. So we have the collaboration here so that, you can ask questions and people can see and say, oh, that's interesting. But it didn't really answer this aspect. So somebody else might say, okay, well, wait a minute, but what about this? And they might add their comment or question, and it will expand the knowledge base and the understanding of the topic there. So if you're a student, and one of the challenges we have, I was down in Washington at a Model UN here a couple of weeks ago, and I met with a professor of one of the universities there. And he said the first thing they do is they check to see if AI was used in any of the students' work, and they automatically give the student a 0 if that was the case. And I said that you're really messing up your students, because the world is looking for people who can maximize their productivity and achieve the most out of things. If you go and discourage people from using modern tools, you're not giving them an advantage. When you go out there and say, "Oh, I want you to do research," well, are we saying here if you go to the librarian in the library and ask for assistance in finding the best books on something, that somehow that's okay? But if you go and ask AI to say what are the best books on the subject, that's not okay. Or if you ask AI to summarize it rather than you reading through every page, that's not okay. What we're coming to the conclusion is what we really need is to be able to test how well students learn how to do the research, that they learn how to ask for the right things, that they learn how to think critically about what comes back and ask the right follow-on questions. And in one of our meetings a couple of weeks ago, one of the things that was interesting was we asked ChatGPT, can you, when you're having your dialogue with a student or a user, in addition to answering the user's questions related to whatever they asked about, can you critique the way the user thinks? In other words, can you analyze by the kinds of questions they ask and by the kinds of follow-on questions they ask, to what degree they are applying critical thinking, or to what their path of reasoning probably is? And ChatGPT came up with that. And I actually ran some tests with it where it would give me the answers to whatever I asked for, and then it would critique my prompts. It would critique my chain of thought or chain of reasoning that I used to get there, and give me advice on how I can improve how I communicate. and how I can improve about the way I think about things when I hear things, to look at more perspectives, and to not be as narrow maybe in some of the ways I looked at things. So that I thought was pretty amazing. So we looked at two pieces here that help you do research, help you find the sources of information that would be useful for your understanding of any topic. And Daniel, to your point, you can use this to literally go in and look at policy decisions that Rotary has made. Look at things like the membership evolution and statistics over recent decades, and ask for analysis. Why is this so? When I first joined Rotary, it was said I should read a book by Robert Putnam called Bowling Alone, which described how membership organizations really went downhill starting in the middle of the 1960s. And I actually have loaded that in, and I've been able to have a discussion on what were the causes and why have some organizations not experienced that problem. Organizations that recognized that the central needs to offer more value added to its membership organizations. In other words, it's almost like McDonald's. We look at that as the evil corporation up there, but in the end of the day, the central function of McDonald's, it exists for only one reason. That's to maximize the success of the stores on the ground and the grassroots. And so organizations that have taken that attitude to say, hey, the reason for our existence is to maximize the success of the folks on the ground. So what can we do that's going to make their life easier? What can we do that's going to help make them more successful, so that we can create economies of scale, that we can provide for certain types of solutions. We can provide enhanced supply chains, or whatever it is they need. But the assumption that the grassroots has all the answers has proven not to be that effective. Okay, I've been talking way too much. I need some of you here to comment about what we've discussed. Maybe how you see you could be using this, or what you might see as a topic you would like to do research on. And I'd like to invite anybody who's interested. If you contact me, we want to try to help some people actually experiment with these tools. So we want to actually help you to build your own knowledge base, how to be able to use Perplexity to do the searches, how to be able to use ChatGPT to create the prompts. And it's very interesting with the prompts on ChatGPT. I heard about a guy, he opens 2 copies of ChatGPT. In the one copy, he asks his prompt, he asks his questions. And when he gets his answers, if he doesn't like the answer, he goes over to the other ChatGPT and he says, hey, I asked you this question and you gave me back this answer. And I don't like this aspect of it, this aspect or that aspect. Please advise me how I could improve the prompt to get closer to the answers that I really want. And it gave him that, and he was able to go back to the first instance and put that prompt in, and in that way get closer and closer to getting what he was really seeking out of it in the first place. So the idea is that we want to put a little group together to experiment. How do we do this? How do we build learning hubs? How do we build knowledge bases? How do we leverage them to get the most out of them? And I have another little group that I expressed to some schools looking here to say, does any 10-year-old out there want to write a master's degree textbook on anything? Maybe advanced business management skills, or marketing, or physics or whatever. And how quickly can a 10-year-old learn everything they need to do to be a world expert in any subject and write a quality textbook on that subject that will help other people understand it as well? Thought that was an interesting little challenge there. Okay. So please, somebody jump in here so I don't have to keep talking. Some of you haven't said anything. Gitanji, you were vocal here in our last sessions. You have any thoughts?
No, not really. Yeah.
Are you overwhelmed, or are you just saying, "Oh well, yeah, this is all old hat. I already know about all this stuff."
I'm just trying to learn as much as information that I can about AI because, people are saying that AI is going to take over the world. But the point is, in what way? Because AI is stealing people's jobs, but it's also helping people in their jobs. So it's kind of a confusion that, I can probably like learn more about through this program meetings.
Very, very good. Gitanji, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're located, for others here who maybe don't remember you from the last call?
So, I'm located in Rwanda, East Africa, but I am Indian, so Indian, like North Indian, yeah.
And how old are you?
I'm 15 and I'm in grade 11.
Okay. So we see here the spectrum of people who participate in these kinds of discussions. And Gitanji, one of the things you bring up is very important. And I had a very interesting discussion with AI recently about the evolution here, the taking the jobs, whether humans will be able to compete in any capacity, whether that's regarding empathy, emotional intelligence, all the things, ethics, all the things that we think are human. And it's very interesting. The conclusion that it came to is it will replace the humans in every one of those, that there literally will be no field that the humans will be able to compete, and it could start in as little as 2 years. So this is why these are very important discussions. You're right. What we're discussing today is how we use that to learn, but we can use AI to learn about the things that are going to influence the trajectory of the evolution of the technology, and especially the adoption of the technology around, and figure out what we can do so we don't end up with a catastrophic situation here. How are we going to have a transition? Because AI can solve all kinds of medical issues. We can solve poverty. We can solve climate change. We can solve so many of these issues, so many good things. And so we have to figure, okay, we could end up in a paradise, and there's a whole bunch of experts out there that are saying, oh, thank God when we can get to a jobless society where nobody has to work just to be able to eat or have a roof over their head. And they're looking at that as being paradise. And then we've got a lot of people who look at that and says, but I'm not going to have any income. My God, that's a catastrophe. So it's very important that we look and discuss those issues. Ian, you wanted to say something earlier.
Yeah, I'm messing around with Notebook LM and what's it? Perplexity, and I'm kind of going from one to the other, back and forth, to try and build up a better idea of what's in there.
Yeah.
I started out looking for, something about functional foods, and I have actually found a place that sells them, so what's there, and then you go and find a website, push that into Notebook LM, and then you get a better idea of.
Yeah. Okay, it looks like you're frozen.
Of what's available and what's going on,
Yeah. No,
Hi,
that's good.
I've got a question, if you can hear me.
Who is that? Oh,
Can you hear me?
David?
Dave. Yeah. From London, yeah.
Yes.
Is the sound okay? Can you hear me? Because I got
Yes.
an experimental mic here. Okay, good. I want to ask about the social group work aspect. So I completely agree with everything you're saying about the direction, and also the difficulty or the idiocy that universities and schools have with how the majority of them are treating AI. And we have to actually really work with
David, you're breaking up.
like the two overlapping things. Okay, am I breaking up?
You were breaking up, yeah. Okay, I think here we'll come back
Okay,
to
so on the social side, collaborate on. Okay, so the sound's not good.
I think what might be
Okay.
happening is your microphone, you might be far when you pause, your microphone might be turning off.
Bill, we can hear him just fine. I didn't hear any breakup on
Okay.
my side.
Oh,
I can,
all right.
okay.
Okay, maybe
Okay.
it's my
Okay,
side
I'll
again.
continue. It's always difficult to know. So it's on the group work side. One, I would really love to join in, and also in this other group, we're starting a kind of co-op to teach each other AI tools with like mentors and students. So I'd love to team up on that, because sharing the knowledge, sharing the research, and the group work around it also, to me, mitigates against the bad side of AI is it can increase everyone doing this kind of solipsistic sort of solo research, isolated research by yourself, and you miss out the social experience of meeting other people, learning from them, learning about teamwork and all those things. And it's in the interest of the AI tool companies to just get you to play with a tool in your bedroom, or get this teacher to look at it, or what have you. So everyone's just learning it by themselves, and what we should be doing it is in groups, in learning groups. So my question is not about the amazing things we can do about that, because that's really obvious to me, scarily obvious, but for the group work around it, and how can we share that learning, and why aren't we doing it already?
No, this is very, very valuable here. One of the reasons we encourage, especially young people, when it comes here to say, oh, you've got these assignments and things, make the assignment. You're probably familiar with the Feynman technique, where we try to get students to learn by figuring out how they would explain or teach it to others. And so we try to go and get the young people to not just figure out how do I use this, but figure out how do they analyze what it could be used for, and how do they teach it to others. So that instead of the students just being the students, we try to get them to participate in being the researchers, in going out there, finding the sources, and discussing what does this corpus, this collection of knowledge, what does it all mean? And especially when you generate podcasts, to be able to go and have discussion about, okay, is that good, or do we want to change the prompt for the podcast so that we can get the podcast to be even more useful for a particular reason? So yeah, I'll get in touch with you on that, because we definitely want to try to build a group of young people from around the world that would be participating in doing the research.
Currently, do you have any spaces or any weekly sessions where you do this, or this is something you've yet to do?
This
so
is
definitely,
yeah, it's new.
Definitely, it needs to be project-based
Yep.
learning. Okay,
Yep.
Definitely, it should be good to start with learning AI in that project-based learning, and realities of how we do.
Yeah, I'm hoping the others can hear you,
Bill.
because I cannot.
Yeah,
Okay,
you froze briefly.
yeah. Danielle, you were wanting to say something a little while earlier. Okay, he might not be there. So what about some of the others of you we haven't heard anything from? Gordon.
Hey, Bill.
Yes.
Can I say
How's
something?
it going? Yes, good.
Yeah. Who's
Hello?
good to speak first? Should I let the other person go first?
Daniel, you
I'm
back?
just Michael Kakule from DRC. I appreciate
Yes.
the session because you have learned a lot, and hopefully maybe this one will never be the last one. I don't know how we will be getting those specific workshop, which may facilitate us to try to see how we can share better then with colleagues as well as possible. In case it can be possible, please let us know in case we can organize an event on our side, and then we link with you, and then we share more with our community as well.
We would
Amazing.
like to see, we would like to see here from the different parts of the world, if you have a couple of young people, if we can build a multinational group of young people who, for example, look into how do we close the education gaps around the world. You can go in, we can take the SDGs as major problem areas and literally say, okay, why do we have these problems? What's wrong? What has to be done to close the gaps, and actually work out the solutions to see how we can close the gaps. Just like I said with the 50-page document on closing the preschool preparation gap. We can have AI actually help figure out the solution. So contact me through our WhatsApp here afterwards to get engaged on that. And Daniel, I'm hoping this is something we can get our artificial intelligence fellowship that we can sponsor some of these kinds of projects around the world. We're encouraging people to figure out how do we leverage artificial intelligence to do some really good things of with regards to poverty, education, and so forth.
Absolutely, I agree. So, Bill, I just sent to you a message that I have to leave this meeting to join another one. So, for the rest, it is an excellent meeting, and I hope some others will follow. And I liked very much your idea of creating a group to experience the benefits of AI tools or platforms and maybe advise others. So everything is great. Thank you so much. And,
okay, thank you. Thank you for being with us today. Okay. I see, Rachel, you had have your hands up.
There, wanted to share with you that I went to Harvard to look at the AI systems. You and I met many years ago, pre-COVID, and I then went to Harvard University to look at the AI system, and some of the questions people were asking about, the future of AI is answered within those places, that human beings using AI tools will take the jobs of human beings who don't know AI tools. So that's the first iteration of what will happen within the next 2 years to 5 years, where if you don't know how to use an AI tool, you will be eliminated by those who do, other human beings. Then the next level becomes even crazier, just like United Healthcare, where you had the CEO getting gunned down, right? So if people don't come together in society to work on what it is we all want to see together, then the ones who get shunted out, who don't get their voices heard, may take action, violent action, right? So that may also happen, because AI is very powerful, as you've shown, using just those 3 tools. And so what I wanted to show in the chat did not exist 3 years ago. Fingra solves the world's problems of potholes, and it solves the problem of food and agriculture on Fingra.com. That's on the chat now. And it got to Phil Murphy, governor of New Jersey, how come potholes are still around after, hundreds of years? And the answer came out after looking at all the research and the dumping is that the asphalt is just not a very good material. Oh, that's a very interesting situation. What will happen if we don't fix the potholes? Well, with the rise of EV vehicles and climate extremes, there's going to be shrinking cities and shrinking municipalities. Oh, we didn't know any of that. So it becomes really intriguing.
Yes, Gordon, I'm going to share with you after the call
and multiple tools.
Yep. Okay, I'm afraid.
Problem. So we be able to solve these problems extremely quickly, which is what you have identified, like learning a different way. 2 to 3 months you get your master's. We start working on stuff like this, right? And we provide solutions. Because if you say 2 to 3 months of master's, what's going to happen? And this has happened at Harvard University, is that the professors talking about this got into problems because you're talking about this at a high level, at the executive level, but what about the undergrads and what about the people, masters, paying for those
Yes, I fear it's my connectivity again because
because they use the aggregate from volcanoes to
changing the aggregate, right, and also changing the binder will change the result basically. So the problem we have in many asphalt pavings, and this we ended up working with the Department of Defense of the United States on this. So I'm not limited to sharing the concept, but basically the issue is, let's say you use women's cosmetics, right? And she's using something she buys from Texas. Well, that same product may not work in New York because the environment's different. So take that same concept and apply it to or Canada, right? It wouldn't work. And why are we using the same pave mix in the same driveway when the conditions change? Sometimes you have an 18-wheeler going over that. Sometimes you have a car. Sometimes you have more conditions, different weights. We need to be able to vary that pave mix appropriately. And so it's a math game as opposed to, right, and with materials. And the place where no one wants to park, 50 spaces away from the entrance, we need to put the cheapest pave mix in. Right. Right? Yeah. If they use things, we have to make it cost effective so that we're not putting the best materials everywhere, because it might not be needed in the same parking lot. So it becomes a mathematical equation of solve for multiple variables because each variable is different.
Bill, you're muted.
Yeah, Bill, you should come back in. I'm done. I wanted to congratulate you. This is absolutely
Bill, we can't hear you.
I can't hear you. You're on mute. Let me mute my.
Gotcha. Okay. I have an interesting anecdote to that, and that is that I used to have a subsidiary near Stockholm, Sweden, and I was living at the time in central Indiana. And in central Indiana here, every spring our roads were terrible. They were full of potholes, and they had to be repaired every single year. The same roads had to all be repaired. And when I traveled, even in the winter in Sweden here, they never had any potholes. So I happened to have an opportunity to talk to the mayor, and I brought the question up. I said, "How come in Sweden they can have their roads not have potholes when they have much worse winters than we were experiencing in Indiana?" And she said, "Oh yeah, we know how to do that." But they cost more. And if I go and spend on a solution that's going to keep our roads in good shape for 10 years, then my opponent's going to say, look at how much money you broke the budget, and I'm not going to get any credit for the fact that it's going to last so long. My opponent's going to win the next election, and they're not going to put anything into the roads because I've already fixed them for more than 4 years. So politically, I cannot have a solution. I cannot go for a solution that's going to last for more than my tour in office. And so sometimes it's political. Regarding the question here, the issue on where this is all taking us, and I'll share the document that came out of the discussion with ChatGPT on it. The question is, as companies chase efficiency and productivity, they're going to reduce the headcount dramatically. And so what we're going to see is that, and there's also going to be a consolidation because computer solutions are developed once, deploy often, deploy widely. So they tend to support centralization. And, okay. Can anybody hear me? No. Okay. Hopefully
sometimes you cut out every now and then, but otherwise it's okay.
So the gist was that AI and IT in general encourages consolidation and centralization because it's build once, deploy many widely. And so we're going to see a consolidation of business, fewer and fewer people in the owner class, needing fewer and fewer humans that are going to be in what they will look at as the useless class, according to Yuval Harari. And we have this problem that the danger that we've got is that 3 to 5% owner class starts to become very afraid of the 90+% useless class, if you would. And they may take preemptive.
Yeah, cutting again, Bill.
Okay, so is
it possible to focus a little bit on who wants to turn up to AI learning courses and practical next steps a little bit, rather than theory and what wonderful things AI is possible to do? I would love to know. We've got a couple of people suggesting they want to turn up, but what's the actual process to starting a class and doing this?
I think we need to build a group.
We share some
Telegram,
some things on the practicality.
Yeah, so we build a group in Telegram and we invite people to suggest topics, and we either have a bunch of different teams, each researching.
We have okay.
And we share.
Hang on, Bill.
Yeah. Okay. This doesn't look.
Becoming a teacher and becoming a student and scheduling sessions. So it's currently in a forum and it's moving over to a WordPress site. It's to do with, it's just an open collective intelligence collective. So what we could do is share that resource. So people who want to learn could sign up and sign into that resource, because it's better than just doing a WhatsApp or a Telegram. You do that as well, but it would be good to have the scheduling and the other aspects and get a bit serious about organizing it.
Yeah. No, I agree, and then there are much better tools out there than WhatsApp
It's
and Telegram.
teamwork. It's about who will group of, let's say, I don't know, 20 people, or really it's only to build more the infrastructure and start before Christmas or in the new year, and just be interested in the details of how to start doing that, what topics to focus on, what's
I
the
think
structure, what's the next steps.
Yeah, I think here the common topic that applies to all is how to use tools to do research. In other words, how to use these tools to build knowledge hubs and learning hubs and do research and so forth. And then you've got subgroups that are interested in specific topic areas, so they can be employing what we discuss in jointly on how in their respective areas of interest.
You've frozen again, Bill. The problem I find with that technique is that to start with, you only get a small amount of active people, right? And what you want is something that they're commonly researching to begin with. As the group grows, and there's, let's say, a whole bunch of people who want to do food, the future of food or something like this, right? Then you would create a group around that. But your problem initially is creating a critical mass in which everyone's excited about learning together and sharing together on a common topic. So you want to start with a common topic.
Yeah, and I think that common topic is what are the AI tools and how can they be used, and how do we learn effectively? That can be that common topic because that applies across all.
It's a bit meta and boring for people, especially young people.
Um,
So given
not what
that
I'm
everyone's
assuming.
going to be doing that, everyone will be learning those tools. You know, so you will be learning AI, you will be learning notebook LLM, you will be learning and swapping techniques. Everyone's going to be doing that, but it's more exciting when you combine that with a good story, a good topic.
I'm actually finding here that that there are a lot of young people who are very interested in maximizing or forwarding or progressing the actual field of learning. I'm afraid I am frozen again.
No, we hear you now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, as I said,
Okay.
the young people, that there are a lot of young people who are very interested in the idea of learning and research itself, and then being able to say, okay, what else do I want to apply it to? Because so many people have dozens of interests, not just very passionate about a single interest. And so in the discussions I have, we have a database that we're probably going to expose this to at some point, with about 60,000 young people who have participated in Model UN events in the recent years, literally around the world. So
okay, well, we're definitely courses. We'll be learning about the future educational work. We'll be having a group focusing on learning, the future of learning and educational models, and one group on the future of democracy and governance. Some of those seem to me a little bit nerdy to really get a good focus group from a wide point of view. So the sort of topics I think the most energizing topic.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, Ian.
well, you central idea about learning all about these things. You could have slightly related, more interesting for younger people, and feed what we develop from that back into the center And after people have used AI for quite a bit, they would be able to discuss it in more abstract terms because they have a solid foundation under them.
Yeah, the challenge is here getting started. For a
to me,
lot
there
of
are
young
two
people,
dimensions.
you talk about AI and they say, "Oh, sounds great,
Yeah.
sounds great." But how do I get started? How do I actually do something?
You have a structured method. You have a structured class, and you have a topic, and you say, right, we're going to tell a story. Okay, what's the story? And then you say, let's illustrate it, and then you use AI tools to illustrate. Let's research it. Let's use AI tools to search it. You need structure for the class, and you need to embed that in this kind of Zoom hybrid work here. It's straightforward to do, but you need that structure, and you need to structure it before you call people in.
Yeah. One of the big things that I find is for people to be able to grasp the variety of use cases, to be able to know, oh, I can use this to track my family's genealogy. I can use this here to track my family's medical history. I can use this to critique a fiction book I'm writing, or to advise me on a fiction book I'm writing. I can. So the first one of the first challenges is for people to realize it's not about food. It's about how to think more so than about food or about any about power.
Yeah, I know.
That knowledge comes.
It's hard because I know something about food. I've got a passion about food, but I don't know how to think. I don't know how to. So I need to do that. And what we're trying to do is help people do that through discovery rather than telling them.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's meta that everyone enjoys doing.
Yeah.
You're going to too into your own head, and too meta and too philosophical if you want to do practical classes with young people or intergeneration classes to begin with. You're doing it too much from the way you would do it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, Bill, you got to where you experience.
Yeah. Do these classes and huge amounts of data actions of the future and the expansiveness.
I'm afraid my connection,
which is the objective to getting this, it doesn't feel right.
Yeah, one of the things, David, you may not be aware, when I was teaching at Purdue University, one of the things that I did is at the beginning of the semester, instead of going and assigning a textbook and saying, okay, you guys are going to read this textbook and you're going to learn what's in the textbook, what I did is I assigned all my students to go out and write their own textbooks. So they had to go out and do the research, figure out what's going on with the subject matter, figure out what's important to people, and then in turn write their own textbook. And it had a lot of resistance, if you would, in the beginning because of the amount of time it was taking. But by the end, as people started to see that potential employers rated them so much different from the average graduates, that we ended up in a time when the university was experiencing a significant decline in enrollments, that we had a multi-year waiting list to get into our program. So I think one of the biggest goals of education is
that's excellent, Bill.
Yeah, is to share the idea of curiosity, of getting students to become curious enough to want to pursue knowledge rather than to receive knowledge, if that makes sense.
That's great, Dave. That's really great because Bill, what you're doing is a true educator, right? And inspiring creativity, which is existing human knowledge, giving you a report on what it is. It doesn't create new ones other than the synthesis of them. So you working on helping kids and people be creative, be able to think, is the antidote to the end, the end, because we have to keep creating.
Yeah, it's when a young person goes in
That's very
and
important.
says, "Oh, I looked at these tools and I looked at this, but
because of meeting you, if you're local to Scotch Plain, it'd be great to meet you again.
oh yeah, okay, yes. Now I remember because you were dealing with the nanotechnology on roofing, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yes, yes, nanotechnology. Yes.
Yeah, I'm still there.
I mean, as opposed to 10 to the -9, so about a million times smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
we're still only a couple of miles apart, so we should get together for coffee.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, but for the rest of you, I'm very concerned here because I don't know what's getting recorded or what's not getting recorded, and I'm fearing we're losing a lot of good information. What I think here, unless somebody wants to say something, I'll call this meeting to an end. Try to hopefully be able to pull out the notes and so forth to share on the meeting here that we've had, and that we can, through the group, will create a group of people that are interested in this subject matter and pushing some project on this regard, and we'll pull together all the ideas. David's idea of having groups that are focused on individual research topics, and one of those topics being education, another topic being how we can most effectively use AI in these things, and another topic which really is important. What does all this mean for society? What happens here when the jobs start getting lost, and tax incomes go down, Social Security payments go down, nobody has incomes, and how do we avoid that the top 3 to 5% become so afraid of the bottom 95% that they decide that the only way for them to be safe is to eliminate the bottom 90% of the population? And that sounds like you're crazy, but just like we map trajectories on hurricanes, we've got to be able to map what are the possible trajectories of this evolution of AI on society, and what are the determining factors that are likely to say, are we going to the left or to the right, or where is this going, so that we can begin to estimate the likelihood of certain milestones and certain things happening, and then to figure out what are we going to do about the consequences that we don't want to have happen. We got to do something about them before they happen. We can't wait and say, oh, when they happen, we'll fix them. Unfortunately, that's what the world has been doing for the last decades, many decades. We only go and help the victims after something bad happens. We don't do preventative efforts, if you would, to avoid the bad stuff. With AI, we can't afford to do that because or in climate change also, because the consequences are so bad that there's no recovering afterwards if we're wrong. So with that here, anybody want to make any last comments? Okay, so in that case,
next steps.
Yes, in that case, what I will do is I will send out the link to join a group where we can work out the details of the next steps, and move this forward from an academic theoretic discussion to some concrete actions. So thank you, everyone. I apologize here for the disruptions. I am going to get on the phone after this with Verizon and say, you got to fix this because this has become ridiculous. And we've got our Artificial Intelligence Rotary Foundation board meeting tomorrow, and I want to make sure I've got good connectivity by then at least. So thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. This is probably the shortest meeting we've had in the last half year, but I think the discussion's been very good. Thank you very much. Bye now.